read and intro it, Clark?
Yeah, you want me just to do it separately, or you want me to do it now?
It's up to you. That's what I was saying. Whatever you want to do.
All right, cool. Today's episode of We Gotta Believe is brought to you by our friends at Coors, like the beer that is made to chill with the bluest mountains in the goddamn world. And you know what, boys? These mountains of these three faces are as blue as they get with a 7-game winning streak. That's fucking made to chill. Reset button. Smash, smash, smash. We've reset. Everything is gravy, baby.
My mountains are freezing cold, and I don't know what to do with it, boys. The Knicks have clinched. The Mets are rolling. They're tied for the fewest losses in Major League Baseball. My beer is cold. My mountains are blue. I don't know what to do with myself.
It's the best. That's why Coors Light is the one I choose when I need to unwind, because I'm unwinding. Everything is fine. 2020 has melted away. We're going to melt away the first couple months of 2021, and everything is Irie right now. That's a Jamaican phrase. I brought that back from the islands with me. So you want to hit reset, reach for the beer that's made to chill. Get Coors Light, and then you'll look delivered straight to your door with Drizzly or Instacart. The Mets season is here, and be sure to show us on Twitter that you've tuned in with Coors Light. My guy Paul put in the Blue Mountains around his head after every game. He's going to have a torn rotator cuff for winning so many games. Celebrate responsibly. Especially you, Paul. Make sure you celebrate responsibly as you put it around your head. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. I just got so hyped reading that ad read. Oh my God, I am so fired up right now.
Where do we begin? It's a 7-game win streak. We have there are these things. I keep saying it over and over again. I don't really care about just like going and winning a ball game. That can happen. You can win, you can lose, whatever. The things that matter to me are these big picture changes. You know, you talk about a culture change, right? The most cliche phrase in all of sports for a losing team when you're trying to turn it into a winner. There's a culture change going on. In the past, and I don't even remember what we've talked about already, but you know, we because we did we did another episode earlier this week, but in a game where you hit a home run that then gets reversed, that's such a deflating thing in the past. In the Wilpon era, we lose that game 1,000 times out of 1,000. So we win it, and I'm like, oh my God, that's different, right? And then yesterday I noticed we had a day game, one of those camper games, starts at 12:10, and I was swamped yesterday, so I didn't get to sit down and watch a single pitch of it. And usually, when that's the case, I find myself checking my phone, and I'm like, what's the score? How bad is it going to be? And from Jump Street, I was like, all right, let me check the game real quick. I walked by the gambling cave. I'm like, let me peek in and see the score. And I 100% expected to be winning. And we were up 4-0. And then I checked in again later, and it was 7-1. And we had tacked on some survival runs. But I expected it. I wasn't like surprised. It wasn't a pleasant surprise. It wasn't shocking. That's a culture change. That like things are feeling differently. And even just in a short span, whereas a couple weeks ago, I felt like we're not going to get a clutch hit to save our lives. Now I'm almost kind of starting to expect, like, if you're in a big spot, there's some magic's going to happen. We're going to get another walk-off RBI with a fielder's choice. We're going to get, great base running where we're essentially stealing runs. Things that we just never do. Not only are they happening, but I'm starting to expect them. So that's, hope is the worst thing. It's the worst of things in my mind when you get hope and expectations, but I'm there, man. I minus when James McCann's at the plate. That's about it. That's the only time my expectations are rock bottom low. That's a scary thing. That's why I keep saying it reminds me of 2006. In 2006, I knew that lineup was going to perform every day. In 2015, in August, I knew that Cespedes was going to hit a ball to the fucking moon every time he was up to bat. Last 2 years ago, I knew that if Pete Alonso was up in the 7th, 8th, or 9th, he was going to put a ball into orbit. And now, it's all coming together where I just expect good things because this team is just good.
Just a good fucking team. And it's almost it's just a product of the shit luck we've had with some of the injuries, but it's those Pilar, Villar, that the black magic, the Ilar combo in the lineup.
Let me just interrupt for a second. I can't remember who's Ilar and Elar, and so they're just Pilar to me. It's going to be Villar and Pilar, and I'm sorry whichever one I'm mispronouncing. I can't. It's my Portnoy. It's my Macaulay Culkin. I don't know who's Elar, Pilar, Villar, so they're just both Ilar.
I'll put on the record. So it's Jonathan VR because I remember it's like virtual reality.
Oh, that's good. VR. Okay, maybe I can remember that. Okay.
We're gonna say LR because it's spelled the same, and you just have to fucking do it. Gary even fucks up. He calls him PR. He doesn't know what's going on. Gary just gets him confused. When they
bat back to back, or they're both one's on the base paths and one's at the plate, it feels like they're always, it's always happening to Gary where he's got to call one for the hit and one for the run, and it's all over the fucking place. So you're Jonathan. Wait, I don't even know who's who anymore.
it's all LRs. You don't have to worry about it.
I'm not even going to say their first names. It's just Villar and Villar.
and like you said, Gary gets confused about it. He doesn't know what the fuck. And they're always in the mix. They're in the mix on the base pass. They're in the mix on defense. They're in the mix at the plate. All that kind of shit. And that's exactly like that's the difference between the Steve Cohen Mets and the Wilpon Mets, where it would be Eric Campbell and fucking John Berry Jr. and Adrian Gonzalez in the middle of that kind of shit, right, guys? Who either are quadruple A or washed up 38-year-olds that have no business still being on the diamond. Like Albert Pujols would be here right now.
Yes.
Even with Dom Smith and Pete Alonso, we would somehow have Albert Pujols here. So, but it's like that.
Have you changed your tune at all yet? Are you still ready to just hand things back over to JD and Nimmo? After a few more games of a few more hits and big plays, since we last talked about that, the LR boys are killing it even more. Are you ready?
I'm here making the case to JD Double Davis to you.
I know.
I'm here making the case. Everything is upside down. I don't know, man. I just feel like sooner
to give the bat back to JD Double Davis than I am to give it to Nimmo. But that's because JD's my guy and Nimmo has been my anti-guy. But also, I'm at the point where I don't think we rock the boat at all, man.
I'm at the point where it's like
in the winning streak, you can't, right?
No, that's the thing. As long as the W keeps going in, if it goes to 7 to 8 to 9 to 10, like you just have to keep wheeling your guys out there. Which, by the way, someone pointed out to me again. If you guys aren't following us, Instagram, we gotta believe is the Instagram. Someone pointed out that I started this beard. I think the first game is when I shaved. So this beard has to stay now. I cannot shave. So like everything,
it's a playoff beard. It's just 162 games to get into the playoff beard. So let it roll from the Knicks through the Mets. You're gonna have a fucking Mazika beard soon enough.
Exactly, and like we said last week, the Mets turned controversies into winning streaks now. Like the fact that raccoon game went from potentially like a never-ending saga in the first line of the 2021 Mets obituary that people are talking about years from now to just being like the second game of a 7-game winning streak plus. It's incredible. It's everything. Jake is on the IL. We haven't even mentioned it yet, right? It's crazy. The best pitcher in the universe.
And even that's another thing where it used to feel like, all right, if Jake goes down or we lose Noah or our big bat is hurt, like console, like we can't afford that. And in my mind, I'm like, Jake, take your time, like rest up, make sure everything's healed. Don't come back too soon, because the reality is right now we're okay. I mean, Taijuan Walker's fucking amazing.
Awesome.
I mean, he's awesome. And Stroman gets the job done every time. And, Peterson is kind of that, like he's a back end guy who's going to have his ups and downs, and but everyone's kind of doing what they're supposed to do. So we can afford, I think, right now to let you rest up. I'd so much rather him come back, mid, I guess that would be like, or early June, and just be like, I'm good to go. If you give him a couple turns, like let him relax. I just feel like we have that luxury right now. And I think if this start and then subsequent winning streak afterwards, I hope has reminded Mets fans of one thing. It's that the season is fucking long. So let's not go into panic mode or push anybody or rush anybody right now, because shit changes, so quickly, and you have such a long time to make up for any issues. So, in the past where I would have been like, either it's over or listen, Jake, you got to go out there and pitch every inning. I think why don't we chill? Do you think that complete game from Jake is the issue? My mom is very heavy on we should have taken him out. That we pushed him too far. That's just not what pitchers are used to anymore. I'm like, I don't know, Mom. Maybe you're onto something there. I'm okay with it either way. He was dealing, and I don't think it wasn't like he had 140 pitches or anything. But it is interesting that all this comes on the heels of a very rare complete game.
Mets fans love having the one moment they can point all their failures going back to,
Yep.
right? The Duaner Sanchez cab ride was 2006's like piece, and then Johan Santana. Yep, that was the end of Johan, and then Jake. This could be the thing. I mean, I would never say Mama Clancy is wrong, and I don't want a knife at my throat. You know, waking up to a knife at my throat one day. What the fuck did you say on episode 90? If we gotta believe 91, excuse me. But I think it's going to be like that's the other thing too. It's like we're like Jake, take your time. Carrasco, oh yeah, see you in June. Thor, whenever you're ready. And we're still like sooner or later we're going to have to actually like put a rotation of 5 guys together. But even the breaks of the doubleheaders becoming 7-inning doubleheaders, so the starters could go, you know, a little deeper into games, quote unquote, in terms of percentage. And then the fact we got 2 off days this week, it's like everything is just the Vilpon juju has changed. Everything, the clouds have parted.
The luck is coming our way. The ball's bouncing our way. It's a weird feeling.
I'll give you a very dated reference that I don't know how many people understand, but the fucking Mets, what it was like being a Mets fan, like this little world, the Mets Twitter, the little island we live on. Puff the Magic Dragon, when there's the pirate on that fucking island. Do you remember that shit? The fucking pirate on that magic island. Then it started, I think there was like chicken soup rain from the skies. I don't know. There was a lot of fucking weed shit in that. I don't know. And then at the end, everything just became nice. And it was the same island, but everything was nice. And that is it. Kunsalina is just a paradise. It's a fucking paradise this whole time.
Yeah, it's like Kunsalina. Used to be where it's still Kunsalina is still a beach with daiquiris and you sit under the umbrella with your toes in the sand. And it was where you went to like retire because it's all over. And now it's just the same exact beach, but it's a vacation spot while you're thriving. Same place, just different mentality when you're there. And
kids are playing in the water. I mean, there's dogs running around like little pooches. Everyone's just happy. There's umbrellas in the drinks now. It's just a great place. It's magical.
Amazing.
It's a magical island we're living on, boys.
It's one of those things where you can sit back to. If you're Jake, he said normally he would just push through it because if the team sucks, he's not gonna sit himself out. He's like, I just don't want to push it, and then I'm out for a month. Yeah. They have a 1.8 ERA over this 7-game spread. And that's only one Jake start, and he only threw 5 innings. So it's like, if they're going to do that, and by the way, their slugging percentage is second lowest in the NL.
Jeez.
Wait till they start hitting the ball out of the park.
And
we don't even have to worry about ERA because we'll still be scoring 4 runs a game minimum.
I know. I mean, they have had their little outbursts of 7 runs the other day and like had their slugging moments. But, for the most part, they're winning those 1-run games and only putting up a few runs here and there. So you can't even really say that we've, reached our peak at all. It's not like we're playing our best baseball. Boy, we are laying it on thick here. This is going to be old takes exposed in about a month. Even my mom,
Dom and Conforto.
Yeah.
Even Dom and Conforto, like they're just singles, just lacing the ball the other way. They're starting to get comfortable. You could just see the way that they're taking the approach. And listen, they fired Chili Davis, and now all of a sudden everyone's just like making contact to putting the ball in play. It's just it's weird that it would take over that fast. I think it's just a coincidence.
It's not like a new coach stepped in and like gave them the magic potion. But I do think sometimes your mentality changes or it lights a fire under your. That's why people do like the fire the hitting coach. It's unfortunate for them, but it kind of just shuffles the deck and shakes things up. All those euphemisms, and all of a sudden, things change now. Yes, like there'll probably be a 7-game losing streak coming up. But the point is they like dug out of that hole. They'd be, the White Sox are 21-13. The Mets are 18-13. Obviously didn't play as many games because of that COVID hiccup in the beginning. But, considering how bad things and how bleak things looked offensively for a stretch early on, to be tied for the fewest losses in the majors right now is a very good sign. Like I love it. I said this about the Mets like a couple of years ago. I can't remember what the circumstances were, but I'd almost rather struggle a little bit. Oh, I think it was when the Mets were, what was it? A few years ago when they started off like 11-1. Remember that?
Yep.
And I was like, I'd rather like that was fake because we didn't have any adversity yet. Everything was going our way. And so we don't know what it's like yet. It's like everyone has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Like we hadn't been punched in the mouth yet that season. And that's why I was so cautious when people were like, are you going to believe? Are you going to buy in? Is this the real deal? What else do they have to do to prove it to you? And it's like, let me see them after they falter a little bit. Can they take a punch and get back up? Can they have a losing streak and get back on track? So that's why I'm really buying into this one, because had they been 18-13 with like a 12-2 start or something, and then started to struggle, like I like that they struggled and got better. They've had like a couple ups and downs already, and they're coming out on the right side of it. So that to me says that they're like a resilient team. And on the small scale, they'll come back like in an individual game, and on the big scale, they can take some punches and they can roll with it. And so to me, it was I'd rather that first month be stressful and hectic and scary and screaming and yelling and fighting, because it proves, when the playoffs come around, when there's a playoff push, when shit gets real, well, we've already gone through some things, we've already had trouble with the media. We've already had fights with each other. We've already had, bingo with the Mets.
That fucking Phillies game, the Rhys Hoskins, like that.
Yes.
We should have lost that game, right? There's no way we should win that game. The Pilar home run. We lost the game with that phantom foul tip, though, right? We lost that game.
Yeah, that was bullshit.
That was bullshit.
We've had some good breaks, some bad breaks. We've been on the right side, we've been on the wrong side. Some winning streaks, some losing streaks. We've been hot, we've been cold, we've been offense, we've been defense. The defense is the one thing that's still, I think, overall pretty suspect. But we've like played a season in a month in a way, with all the different storylines and whatnot. And that's where I know we tend to be dramatic as Mets fans. I'm sure a lot of teams have gone through something similar in the first 40 games here. But it does feel like with the Mets, it's just extra dramatic, and everything gets crammed into, one week sometimes. And yet here we are.
Here we are, Kevin, on pace for 94 wins today. One more win. We are on pace for 96 plus. So the 96ers were back on track. We were never really off a track. It was just,
slow start.
Yeah, we were like, it's like we're on the on ramp still of the season at this point. It's 20 games or 30 games or whatever. Like, it's still a baby of a season. And I've decided I'm going to like do the right thing here, because the team is good and I've heard it enough about it. McCann, because James McCann, it feels exactly the way Brian Schneider. Like the way my stomach feels when he comes up, it's the same exact feeling. Like, this guy's just going to just hit meekly a ground ball the second, probably a double play.
When a guy comes to the plate and you're saying, please just strike out, please just strike out, please just strike out, and you don't want a double play, that is when you know it's real bad. Yeah. And I don't know how much slack I can give him for he calls a good game. The pitchers like him. He's great defensively. Because to be honest, you could probably get that in the minor leagues for bare minimum. Like, there are guys in the minors who are probably catching savants who know how to call a game, frame a pitch, pick a ball out of the dirt, and play great defensively. And the reason they never get called up is because they can't hit a lick. So how much slack am I really going to give a guy?
It doesn't help that Nito is like so likable, and every time he comes up to, he always has a game where he does something to stand out. Like yesterday, they took the team picture with the lifeguard travel trip to Tampa, and they tweeted at him, "Where's DeGrom?" And he just responded, he got called up to the next league.
That's a good line.
Yeah, I mean, Nito's a guy who's been floating around, it seems like forever, it feels like. And, like, you can get that elsewhere, not for $40 million and not in comparison to JT Realmuto. So, yeah, while I'm happy, people keep saying, look at the team ERA. Like, you got to give him credit. I'm like, I don't know. Realistically, how much credit does he get? And I know it's important. And I'm sure if you ask the pitchers themselves, being the good guys that they are, they would always give a lot of credit to him. But you're telling me if Nito caught all those games that it wouldn't be a similar, I think that you're giving him a little too much slack. He can't be an automatic out, I don't have a problem with your catcher being a defensive position, but it can't be like, when he comes up to the plate, it's like, 0% chance of getting hit.
Yeah, you're like, just get Jacob here. Let's just get Jacob, with the 2 outs. And that's all.
Bad sign. And I mean, that the other day when they wanted him to bunt, that at bat was over immediately. As soon as the first bunt was a foul ball, I was like, and then they told him to swing away, it was just like, you're asking him, no, never mind. Like, shake it off and now get a hit. It was like, this is done. Just take your 3 pitches and get the fuck out of here, you know?
You can tell the booth too, like they're trying to be politically correct and like, well, he should bunt here, and they're like, he should definitely fucking bunt here.
It's like, oh fucking yeah, you should bunt.
Yep.
It drives me. I don't know why catchers more than anything, but when a catcher can't get a bunt down, I'm like, you play behind the plate, you see those pitches all fucking day, like you have to get the bunt down more than anyone on the fucking field.
Yeah, for real. I mean, you should practice that as much as pitchers do because you're gonna need it, bro.
And what I'm asking for any of the Mets pitchers that are listening, I know they all listen to it, and the relievers as well. Every single day after you have a good game, you just be like, I just want to thank, James did a great job calling. Just like say it every day to remind me. Show I need SNY to show that throw out at second base to end the game that got us that win, and then that'll like trick my brain being like, oh, James McCann, like he's our 8 hitter, it's okay. And fucking Francisco Alvarez, that's gonna be my minor league guy from here on out. He is absolutely raking in the minors. He's a fucking catcher, and James McCann just becomes like a $10 million backup by the end of he's probably third catcher behind Nito, who, I mean, at this point, you just need to fucking play Nito more.
He might be 4th behind Zeke.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, right.
Patrick Mazeika is, in my mind, he needs like one more big event, and then he's Paul Bunyan in my mind. I'm telling tall tales. He's going to be the next Barry Bonds. I can't think of any trivia question more like ridiculous than name a guy who's got 2 career walk-offs in his first 4 at-bats without registering a hit. I mean, that is bananas. This doesn't happen. But again, that's the type of guy, here's the thing. For the Wilpons, when we did have a shred of success, we had rally animals, right? Yeah. We had parakeets and fucking we had, Yo's sleeve. We had inanimate objects or animals, dildos, all these things, right? Now we have rally players, humans, who can affect the game. And that's the difference right now because, I actually, again, thinking about changing my mindset, I thought Zeke was going to get it done. I was like, he's going to put this ball in play. Like he's going to just, I'm not saying he's going to hit a walk-off home run here, but I had faith, which is crazy. But I don't know. I'm just fully drinking the Kool-Aid now, so I'm getting my hopes up. So I will be absolutely heartbroken, and when it happens, I will be devastated this year. But for right now, I'm feeling good about being right.
That's some Magic Baseball shit right there. He has a funky name. He looks like Uncle Chaps.
Yeah. I mean, when he pops the top off and he's got, the cream cheese body. He's not skinny fat. He's just more skinny. But he's still a good athlete, can dunk the ball. He's a stoolie, rocks the Lindor shirt. He gets me game-winning RBIs. I'm sure the guys love him. I mean, it's got to be a great clubhouse thing. We got to get him on the show. I've DM'd him a couple times. He's very much a stoolie. I want him and Trevor May on the show. May is vlogging, blogging, doing his internet thing. So I would hope that he'd be willing to come on. I feel like these guys are a little more gun shy to come on during the season just because you don't want to rock the boat or whatever. But I'm going to reach out to them and be like, listen, you guys are already fighting each other in the clubhouse. Like, how much more drama can we get here? So I hope we can get those guys on the show because they're the ones I really want to talk to. I'm really happy for, let Pete keep doing his thing. Let Jake get healthy and come back. Let Stroh pitch for his money. Let Lindor, be the $300 million man. I like for a show like this, give me the gritty guys. Give me the guys.
Yeah, we're slumming it for the fan favorites. I'm down for that too.
Yeah,
it's a PRVR. We just have them on at the same time. Whatever they get their own little boxes. Yeah.
We'll put their names at the bottom. It'll be like I don't know which one. Ilar, one of the Ilar.
They have to speak at the same time too, so we can't even understand what they're saying. But they just speak it. It's like you guys are just the same human in my mind at this point.
I love them. I love that.
Gary loves Mazika too. Gary's been his hype man. Like he's always like, oh, when the bases are loaded, it's like
here we go.
He had Mazika on the radar from the jump, and obviously it's been an awesome story. And the stat, did you see that ESPN stat the other day? First major league player to have multiple walk-off plate appearances before his first career hit in over the last 100 years. I mean, when we're going to fucking the dead ball era and shit.
If you told me that was the first one ever, I would have believed it.
Yeah.
It's so unbelievable. And I don't know if he's up for it because I don't know if he can talk anymore or if his brain's working. But I would love to have Almora on and just thank him for. I mean, if that's not the most, that doesn't symbolize. Symbolize, is that the word?
Symbolize.
What some of these guys are. This team is very much. There's very few, like if any, in betweeners. You're either like a star, or you're like fighting for your spot in the lineup. With I would say like maybe like a Dom Smith is kind of in the middle where it's like, you're good and you're on your way, but you're not there yet. But everybody else is kind of like hustlers and grimy and just grinding it out. And I mean, Almora, he didn't even slow down one iota for that ball. And I've seen the replay a few times this week, and I'm just like, man, like fucking thank you, dude. Like for the amount that this game affects us and how much we bitch about it, cry about it, scream about it, yell about it, be happy about it. And that's what you want in out of these guys. Like the classic, you're getting paid millions to play a game. It's like that dude was going all out, sacrificed his body, and I love the tweet afterwards. I caught it. Like what was that shit, by the way? They were saying you have to transfer the ball. Like, no, you don't. How many times you just catch a ball and don't do any transferring and it's an out? You know what I mean?
Yeah. That was weird.
I get the idea you have to catch it and have I feel like we're talking about football.
Make a football move.
Yeah, that possession. There was no way I thought that was a catch. I'm not saying that. When they reviewed that, I was like, thank God we didn't need a review or anything like that later. Like, that was obviously not a catch. But the way that they were explaining it, like from the rule book, that you have to transfer it like to your other hand, I don't think that's the case. But anyway, the fact that he was tweeting about it and did it, and like as a fan, that's all I can ask for from guys on his level like that. That was, people were throwing out Aaron Rowand, who went, his face was torn up, but I feel like that was more like he hit the fucking like a pipe and the chain link fence. But as far as just flat out full speed running into a wall, I don't think I've seen anything. I don't think it's possible to have anything harder than that, because it was a full dead sprint. He didn't slow down one smidge from that.
The fact that happened 15 years to the day of the Aaron Rowand catch was unbelievable. And the thing about the Rowand catch too, it was during that Mets Phillies like rivalry and shit like that. And it was I remember it was a huge part of the game, obviously. And it was just so intense. So I actually, like, Rowand was one of those guys. I hated all those motherfuckers.
They had a lot of
guys. I was like, I got to tip my cap. Like, that's the kind of team I like having here. I don't think the guys we're talking about are as maybe good as Aaron Rowand was, but they have the same kind of like grit to them, for lack of a better term.
That's why the Phillies were fucking awesome, because they had they had their superstars. They had the Utleys and the Howards and that, and I guess Rollins. But then they had like the Victorinos and the Jason Worths and Aaron Rowans, who were going to give you like 20 home runs or like 15 triples, and like their hustle guys were also like all stars. So that's why they won the division like 5 seasons in a row and got a World Series. But the Mets are built like a lesser version. Their stars, I think, are comparable. Their lesser guys are still like a step below. But that's the kind of team that works, where it's like you got your money, you got your big money guys who perform, and then you got these hustlers who are like the locker room guys and the glue. If you can get those guys to play on the level that 06, 07, 08, 09, 10 Phillies team played on, you're going to have a lot of success.
Can I just
and it's not even like they know their role in like making it the bench mob, like and having that be the calling card and everything. These aren't guys that are like, I should be playing over that guy who's starting. They're like, no, dude, like, you're better than I am. You're starting. When I can get in that bat, though, I'm going to go take full advantage of it. Mm-hmm. So you always want to see that. Mazika, he just sits on the bench and goes, when I get called, I know it's going to be a big situation. My whole job is just put the ball in play. That is the entire thing.
when he was like, "Yeah, I was trying to put the ball straight up in the air and I put it straight into the dirt," like just being honest about it. I love it. What were you gonna say, Clem?
At this point, can we just like figure out why Major League Baseball can't just like make those fences, but then put like another foot worth of padding in them?
Yeah.
Because
why does it have to be hard? Like,
if you've ever like gone to like a stadium and you've just like touched the fences, it's like 3 inches of fucking cushion, and then it's just fucking like solid.
It's the mat. It's the gymnastic mats we used to have in gym class, where it was like, okay, that'll like break my fall a little bit, but I'm still getting a concussion if I smash my head into this thing. There it is. Jackie knocks over another thing. The streak is alive. The Mets have won 7 games in a row, and 7 straight days Jackie has knocked something over in the studio. Update the graphic, Nick. Here we go.
I went 2 days.
2 days in a row. Amazing. That's like, it's 2 days in a row, but it's like 9 out of the last 10 days.
Put it in the books.
Put it in the book. Incredible. Yeah, so the Almoras of the world, like, I can't get enough of them.
And like you said, it is like that gymnastic mat. It's not thick. Yeah. And the amount of money you're paying for one of these guys, just a chance that one of your outfielders is to be saved from taking an injury out of 162 games, even like 5 seasons. The amount of money it probably costs just to like put some extra padding in and have it make sense, it just doesn't make sense to me. It never will.
And honestly, like, Mike Baxter's like career ended because of that. Aaron was probably like never the same after smashing his head. I hope Almora is okay, but that's the sort of shit. Ryan Church got his concussion. It was never the same. The only thing that I remember being worse was Beltran crashing into Mike Cameron. Do you remember that? That was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Period. Not in a baseball game, not in a sporting event. That was like up there with the shit that I watch on Live Leak. Just 2 grown men going full speed, smashing their face and only their faces together. My mom was telling me in like 87, Len Dykstra crashed into somebody else. Who would have been in the outfield back then? I don't know who it was, but she said they had a similar collision, and they both were just like sprawled out dead, like chalk lines in the outfield. So there's been a few moments throughout the Mets.
He hit Mookie. Oh man, she thought it was
Mookie. She was like, no, wait, it wasn't Mookie, but she was right. Mook and Dykstra. And she was saying that like those were 2 guys who were like, they were obviously good players, but they were like still going all out because they needed to make the most of it while like the superstars were doing their thing. So you need those guys, and the Mets seem to have them.
You got to see this play, dude. Oh my! And Mookie made the catch. Mookie just made the catch, and he like puts his arm up. Can
we screen share here?
Let's see.
Yeah, let me see if I can. Can I screen share, Kyle? Or
I don't want to just put up like
possibly
injury porn here, but it's a
wild fucking holy shit.
I mean, it takes a lot to. Like when Almora hit, I went I had like a visceral reaction. Let's see Mook and Dykstra here. This is 87. God, was that Shea? It's just a great look. Let's see it. Oh boy, it's like you can already feel it happening. Oh my God! Like you see his legs swing out, and they're just. But look at Mook, like arms still up in the air, like yeah.
He slowly puts it up. That's fucking awesome. And Lenny Dykstra's coming at you like a freight train.
Transfer. He's not transferring the ball there. That's still a fucking out. Get out of here with that shit. So anyway, other like news that's been happening here. Yesterday was the Harvey start, or 2 days ago if you're listening on Friday. Where did you fall on this big grand Harvey return? I'm just gonna pose it to you as like, what were you feeling in this? Because I, as always, feel like I was feeling quite different than a lot of Mets fans were.
So I blogged it. I blogged Happy Harvey Day, and I blogged it from the angle of like, at this point, like we've moved on. We have like the beautiful wife in terms of like the team we have now. Everything is good. Uncle Stevie's here. And like, I think even when he got traded, or maybe when he signed with whoever he signed with, I was kind of like, we had some good times, man. Like he was an absolute like pain in the ass, but I'll never forget just how bad some of those days were when we were celebrating Harvey Day. There was nothing to look forward to. And it was like just this like one dude who not only like shoved it down the opponent's throats, but he packed the lipper. He had the bloody nose. He like delivered everything we could have ever expected. It was more than I ever could. So I was really hoping they were going to cheer him yesterday. And shout out to the Citi Field faithful. They fucking nailed it. They did a good job. Our boy Nito stepped in front of the plate and kind of gave him a little extra time. He appreciated it. And again, like, listen, I was like outlining them in the blog, and I was trying to figure out, I was like, the no showing games, showing up late for a playoff game, saying he's not going to pitch anymore because, you know, his contract, the holding your piss in bladder stuff, One Oak, Qualcomm ads, all that kind of shit, just being a Yankees fan, all that kind of stuff. It really like took like a lot of it put a real damper on like the guy who we thought was going to be the head of this Flushing Five.
Exactly, man. Like here, let me tell you the good of Matt Harvey for me. Despite all that, like, I'm not going to pitch anymore because of my contract, he did come back and pitch more innings than anybody has ever pitched after a Tommy John surgery. And for a guy who has then now gone on to have more issues and injuries, like, you could probably make the argument that was a career impacting move that he made for us, for the team. And so for that, I'm grateful. That start against the Royals where he just fell one inning short, the no way start, like, it was electric. And I wish that Terry Collins had been an adult about it and said, dude, you're coming out of this game. I'm sorry. And maybe, who knows, we win that game and everything's different. But, you know, he was a gamer and gutsy and did almost everything he could. So those are like two big moments that stick out in my mind. The rest of it, dude, was like, he squandered a lot of it. He was an asshole. Matt Harvey was a fucking asshole when he was here. And that's not to say that I wasn't I'm not happy for his success, because when he first went to the Angels right away, was it the Reds or the Angels first?
Traded to the Reds, and then I think he signed with the Angels, right?
And I remember thinking he's going to be great, and we're going to be fucking, same old Mets where we change of scenery, save this guy, and we lost him. And that didn't happen, and he got kind of flushed out for a little bit. And now that he's back, I'm happy that he has success in the AL East, maybe pitch against the Yankees. If he plays for the Yankees one day, which feels like, possible somehow, that will suck. If he's good for the Yankees, I'll be very upset. But be good for other teams, no problem. Fine. Give him a standing ovation. No problem. Fine. I had Mets fans. I had a guy tweet me like, I'm really happy we won that walk-off the other day because now I can root for Harvey tomorrow, like, against us. I was like,
no.
That was one dude, so that's obviously silly. But also just in general, this idea like we were welcoming home Piazza on the Padres, like, I just don't have that place in my heart for Matt Harvey. I'll have it for DeGrom one day for sure. But like the Noahs and the Harveys of the world, who so far, at least with Noah, have kind of been like me guys. And I just, my memory of Harvey will be more negative than positive, more like squandered, like there were the Happy Harvey Day was literally all we had. You're right. When he came up and he had, he was the first debut to have like 10 strikeouts since Seaver or whatever it was. Before DeGrom was DeGrom, Harvey was our guy. He was the only like shining light we had in a dark abyss. But at the end of the day, when I look back at Harvey, it was all drama and missed opportunities and prima donna bullshit. So I was just surprised to see how many people were so nostalgic about it, when I was like, all I remember was, negative stuff.
I was just hoping we weren't going to be assholes about it, which with Mets fans, you never know which fans you're going to get at any given game, especially when there's not a lot of people around too. And you have like they said the Feldman hot dog guy, shout out to them, they were with Frank the Tank during yesterday's game. And they said the entire stadium was cheering, standing up, and Frank stayed silent. So he didn't boo, but he also didn't cheer. He was Switzerland. He was straight up.
I probably would have been the same way. I don't know if I would have been, some grand standing ovation for the guy. Now, Harvey afterwards was almost like in tears talking about how much it meant to him. So, maybe he finally kind of got humbled and it's a shame because if he had that attitude back then when he had the talent still, instead of talking about, I'm the next Jeter and I want to party and I want to have my fancy apartment and all that shit, maybe you actually would have been it.
That's like, it's the cautionary tale for any superstar that they have on the Mets now, where it's like, I remember distinctly when he got like picked for the body issue for ESPN, the magazine. And it was like that and like a Jimmy Kimmel, oh, nobody recognizes me stint. And I was like, fuck. I literally thought to myself, like, this is going to be bad.
I mean, how do you say with a straight face, I'm going to be the next Jeter, when everything he was doing was so anti-Jeter? You know, it was like, well, you're not being that guy at all. All you're doing is fucking a bunch of hot chicks. That was Jeter-esque, but everything else you're doing very, very incorrectly, very, very backwards.
Hey, that's what he said, though. He just said Jeter. He didn't say I'm going to be Derek Jeter and keep myself out of limelight. And he fucking performed. Tip of the cap,
that is true. What did the return of Harvey did bring up one thing, though, and it is the most criminal, the most depressing, and the most unfair thing I think Mets fans of the modern era have ever gone through. And that is the fact that big rotation of our 5 guys pitched one time in order. Once. I mean, that is insanity. It was Harvey, DeGrom, Syndergaard, Wheeler, Matz. They only pitched through in that order 5 times once.
And they went 5-0. The team went 5-0 in that time, which I said to Kyle, you would think it would be like so Mets if it was 0 times and they never got it. But no. One time and going 5-0 is completely Mets. So you dream of what could have been. It's not 2 times or 3 times. It's not 0. It's one time, 5-0. And it was the wheel. That was the wheel. And we would just roll teams. And you're like, shit, well, you know, the Mets got us with Harvey and they got us with DeGrom. But who do they have to? Oh, fuck, Noah tomorrow. And then the next series, like, it's all right. We got Matz who's looking good. And then Wheeler's coming. And it would just fucking roll over.
You're on a 5-game win streak and Harvey and DeGrom are up next. It's like, you know, if they stayed healthy, I would have been like, we're never going to lose again. We're just going to keep doing this forever. And I mean, that's what's crazy about baseball is like, you know, every other sport, you get on a winning streak and you're like, all right, eventually the offense, the bats have got to cool down or in basketball, it's like, you know, eventually we're not going to make every shot. In football, we're not going to score, you know, 30 points a game. But with baseball, it's like it's pitching. So, you know, that guy who's had a 5-day break, he might just come back out and do it again and the next guy does it again. It's not like you need the whole team to stay hot. You just need an individual pitcher to do his job once a week. And it's possible to happen where, like, God, it will just always feel those guys were so good, so young, and so cheap. And I will never forgive the Wilpons for not taking that extra money and just loading the fuck up on your offense. When they had a 5 aces rotation of like under like $3 million or something, like everyone was getting like $500,000 and they couldn't just say to themselves, well, you know, that means, you know, what should your starting rotation normally comprise? Like 60 million, you know, when you add it all up and you're getting it for like 600,000 and they didn't have the brains to be like, let's just put all that extra money into an offense and go be a fucking dynasty. It'll just haunt me absolutely forever. I mean, so that 5 times in a row, that was the regular season. Cause I know they also, the 4 games against the Cubs was like Harvey, DeGrom, Wheeler, Matz, whatever.
So Matz got called up that year. So he was only up for like half the season and Wheeler was out. So like, I think it was the following year. I think they had everybody all going, but at the same time, I was talking to Clem about it before and it was Bartolo was the 6th guy for 3 years and he was always in the rotation. So like you never really gave it much thought because everybody loved Bartolo, but it was like, fuck, this guy's not even supposed to be pitching. And here he is for the 3rd year in a row. Like he's the guy. So you can't compare it to Generation K, but it's just because you don't even have any body of work to go off of for them to all be together. It's absurd.
Bartolo was our Dante from Clerks. He's like, I'm not even supposed to be working today. He's like, why the fuck am I here? And I'm making memories. I'm getting fucking pictures of my helmet flying off. I'm hitting home runs. It was unbelievable. And yeah, like you said, Zach Wheeler couldn't even go to the playoffs without paying for his ticket. Like that's the kind of shit we had with the fucking donkey head brains Wilpons.
Looking at the NLCS, it went Harvey, Syndergaard, DeGrom, and then Bartolo got the win in Game 4, but Matt's got the start. So Harvey to Noah to Jake to Matz to Bartolo in that 2nd game, in that 4th game, and we swept. And it was like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. And then they went out there in the World Series and they basically did it as well with the pitching, and we just fucked them over with the defense and the bullpen.
And like you said, like that's 100%. That's when people were like, "Oh, why are you complaining? The Mets made the World Series," and at that point, no one knew what the next few years were going to be. And it's like, yeah, you fucking morons. They made the World Series with this pitching that they're paying nothing for, and they're paying like they're pocketing the insurance money from David Wright, and they're not doing anything else to build a team. They lucked into the Yo trade. They fell backwards into it. There's nothing else that like this team is flawed again. Defense-wise, because they weren't putting money in the spots. They'd have a guy who could hit but couldn't field, or a guy who could field and couldn't hit. And that's how the entire team was built. And no true big market team would have allowed that. Like the Rays, I could see them doing something. They would have built the team the right way, though. But there's no big market team. If the Yankees had a rotation like that, the Dodgers had a rotation like that, they would have filled it out with the right pieces around that pitching, and they would have won championships off of it. So it's a bummer with Harvey. Again, there was a couple other things. The Harvey Citi Field start was a legitimate moment, and that was like before we actually – it was like when we were on the come-up, but we hadn't arrived yet. And again, all the Dark Knight puns and newspaper shit, that was just fun to do, right? And Twitter was a thing. Happy Harvey Day was a thing as Twitter was growing. So those two things, obviously 2015, the Stooley stuff, he bought his own Barstool merch, which I mean, he could have basically worked. He could have like just owned the store if he wanted to.
I wish he just was like more like in contact with us. He's a Connecticut dude. You knew that he grew up like kind of having to know Barstool, being in between Boston and New York. He bought all that stuff, and had there just been like if we just DM'd a couple times, I probably would have had his back through everything. I would have been like, yeah, it's I hold my piss too. Yeah, fuck everything except Qualcomm. Yeah, hold out for your contract. Yeah, you shouldn't have to pitch. I would have had his back through all of it had we just been friends. But he made it hard. He made it very hard. He had his really cool moments with the nosebleed and all that shit, but out dueling Scherzer at time. No, Strasburg. The Harvey's better was fun for a minute, and then Strasburg put that to bed pretty quick.
Shoved it up our ass. Shoved it up our ass. I will say this too. As I was going through Harvey's career, I went back to the teams he started on, and these four guys were regulars on the teams the first 2 years. Josh Tole, Andres Torres, Omar Quintanilla, and John Buck. So, like, we are in a completely
John Buck.
This shit, like yesterday's match unit of a team, still with like our stars, is 1,000 times better than those old teams. So, like, we were in a dark time with Harvey, but he did not make it easy. And I'm happy, like, the fans didn't shoot ourselves in the foot. It meant something to him, and we move on from here. You know what I mean? We go to the next spot.
Before we move on, though, I did get a text at midnight last night saying Harvey's out on the town right now. He just bought a table. So he didn't miss New York.
A tiger can't change its stripes. That dude wants to do one thing and one thing only. That's drink and do blow and fuck bitches. That's Matt Harvey. And if he gets a chance to do it, he's going to absolutely do it. I wish the best for him, unless somehow he one day achieves his dream and ends up in pinstripes, because that will be some Doc Gooden shit for me.
Yep.
He like pitches a world no-hitter or wins a World Series or something with the Yankees, I will be absolutely devastated by that. So best of luck, minus anything Yankees related. I'm reading here. I didn't realize this. One of my favorite fucking viral videos recently is the hey 24 left hand for tits, right hand for ass, and you see the guy put his head down, pause a beat, just put out his right hand for ass. And it's Khalil Lee. I didn't know that was Khalil Lee. So shout out to our new guy. That's your guy, Clem, right? You had your eyes on him as a prospect?
I just liked his name. Khalil Lee sounds like a guy that's going to fucking be nice in center field. And I mean, now I'm sold. I'm sold because they did it. I'm sold because we have the same taste apparently. So
first of all, it's the correct answer. Are you going right hand or left hand, Clem?
I'm right hand.
Right. I mean, I've always said if you're an adult man, it's right hand. You're an ass man. Tits are for children. Everybody likes boobs in the beginning. I want to see some boobs. And then it's ass when you're an adult. So, first of all, correct answer from Khalil Lee. Second of all, the way he puts his head down, he's like, fuck. I can't ignore it. I heard it. I got to answer the question. Right hand. It's just, I love it. I love the whole trend. I saw they did it with Mike Trout a few weeks ago with, I think, like a gun from Call of Duty. It was like, this gun or that gun. Somebody in the Mets Mafia, right? Or 135 Mafia, right? They should do that with, give me some GoldenEye guns for, which field? Are they in right field or left field?
Right field.
Right field. Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Left field.
Are they in left field?
Yeah, 135.
All right. So when Dom Smith's out there, whatever, give me like, yo, Dom, right hand for Moonraker laser, left hand for the RCP 90. I would love to get some GoldenEye throwbacks or some Mario Kart shit. Like, right hand for Wario, left hand for Luigi, whatever it is. Give me some throwbacks that I can get in on. But yeah, Khalil Lee. I mean, that's the other thing, man. Like, again, to go back to why people are like, why are you ignoring 2015 when I say that this team reminds me of 06? Like, we got Yo, and that changed everything. We also called up Conforto, and like, I'm pretty positive that the farm system is pretty barren and that there's no fucking Jared Kalenic being called up. Not for us, as the Mariners call him up. But there's not many guys that could come in and make a difference. But my point being that if there is a Khalil Lee or we do make a move, there's still ways to make this team even better. You make a big. I would imagine at this point, if they continue playing even remotely this good, there'll be buyers at the deadline, and who knows who's going to be available? Who knows if you make a splash? Always fun on the waiver wire. I mean, don't forget the Dark Sexy and Kelly Johnson moves of the past, which are, the smaller moves at the deadline or the waiver wire where you get some guys who really matter. So, between the cavalry coming with the injuries, which you hope that those guys bounce back and they're strong and they're good and they slide right in. You don't want to mess up the chemistry too much, but injuries coming, getting healthy and making some moves. Like, this team could go from good to great, or they could go from good but like still inconsistent, or hey, what if it all still falls to shit, or we could like solidify things. You get the missing piece, or you get one more bullpen arm, or you make a big splash, and maybe they're just going to be like good where you don't even it's not even like will we make it, it's like we're gonna make it now.
I have that feeling, like you said, where I'm just like everything is fine. And granted, like the Orioles, we're getting a little spoiled right now by the Orioles.
Yeah. I mean, there's the Diamondbacks and the Orioles. I'm not saying, but baseball's stupid. It's like sometimes it's not even about your opponent. It's about what you're doing, how your team is playing, and you're exexeting, and that's what matters. But yeah, you're right.
But
I
would have loved this to be in division.
Yeah, right. Who's going to be out there? I almost want to like somehow get Scherzer just so the Yankees don't get him. I know the Nationals would never do that, but I'm very scared of the Yankees going and getting Scherzer and making like a big move on that. But who is there going to be a big bat out there? Is there going to be
Chris Bryant, third base?
Yeah. And then, I mean, this is the craziest thing is we're talking about VR coming, with JD Davis, and then it's like Guillorme's still out there, who was fucking like our third baseman too. Like, this team is crazy deep, and I know McNeil's hurt, which, I mean, there's been so many injuries that even the last few days. The fact that Khalil Lee is getting called up right now is like, what the fuck? I thought he was at least a year away before.
I think that there's something wrong with McNeil. I'm nervous about him. I think he's been so frustrated, and I know he's been like struggling. But he's always like slamming the bat, and you can see him be like, motherfucker, running into the tunnel, smashing his helmet when he's ordinarily the most like mild-mannered guy ever. So I'm a little nervous that like something's not right like up here with him right now. But yeah, like if there's a few guys there that you want to like come around, but also if there's moves to be made, and I mean a Chris Bryant to be had or something like that. Man, could you imagine if it was Kalenic though? It's like. But let me tell you this. Okay, so we stamped our feet and we pouted forever about the trade, right? But if Diaz is gonna be lights out, that's a big if. But like
Eddie Trumpets, baby, Eddie Trumpets.
Yeah, if we got Eddie Trumpets, is it all that crazy? Like, there'll come a time about 5-6 years from now and Kalenic's an all-star, and we're like, fuck, wouldn't it be nice to have his bat? But if like, let's say, God willing, we go on a run right now, and a big part of it is that we have a good bullpen, and that big part of that is that Eddie Trumpets is lockdown. Is it all that crazy? In the long run, sure, yes, of course, it's going to be a bad move. But because Robinson Cano is dead and gone, and our closer is good again, if you told me with this offense, hey, you could have one more big bat or an electric closer, knowing my bullpen PTSD problem, I probably would pick the closer. So I don't know. I know on paper and statistically and all that, it is a bad move. But if good things end up happening, and part of that is because of a good bullpen and a good closer, I don't think it ends up being as torturous as it has been for the last few years.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to Kyle before we went live, and just like the fact, and even if Kalenic just busts, which is very much on the table still, right? Like no one fucking knows. Like, look at, like he's number 3 in baseball, and Kyle's like, yeah, and Rosario was back-to-back number 1. Who gives a fuck, right? But it's like everything you hear about him. But even with that, it's like it still is. It's the Casimir thing. Going back to that, it's like even if he wasn't going to be good, it's a value thing. You do not trade a guy of that value to then also have to take Cano's fucking death contract, which again, to remind everyone, is coming back next year unless he gets pinched for steroids. Please God, a third time, and he's off the books forever.
Honestly, I can see Cohen like hiring someone to just jam him in the ass one time.
I was just gonna say we need like a Ray Donovan to just like
fix her.
There's a movie scene with that, right? There's a scene where somebody like he does just that. He like shoots him up, and it's like, yeah, you're ruined. Like it's gonna be in your system, and you're done. Fuck, I can't remember what it is, but exactly that happens, and I wouldn't put it past it too. I would. Or maybe we do it a little less nefarious. Maybe like, let's just pay like Melky Cabrera to go hang out with Cano for a night, and or like hit the cage in the DR together and be like, hey Robbie, why don't you remember this? You're gonna feel so good. You're gonna be hitting the ball a mile. Use that. Get the test in there. You're popped again. See you never, Robbie. But I mean, let's play the extreme real quick as we wrap up here. If Edwin Diaz is the best closer in baseball this year, and they make the playoffs and make a run and all that, are you still upset about this trade? And if, the next few seasons, if he's like the premier closer, if he goes back to Mariners, Diaz, and it's all coinciding with the Mets being a winning team, are you still losing sleep over Kalenic?
This is Cal. Yeah, exactly. I'm going to say Kalenic, just even though it's not the right way. Are we saying Kalenic? Is it like Mike Trout? But he's good. He's like, this kid
good,
looks like he could be good. Yeah, he's like Conforto in the early days with a little more speed and all that shit. I'll be fine with it, and for one reason and one reason only. Because every time I hear Narco, I fucking get so goddamn hyped.
The trade was Kalenic for Edwin Diaz and a song. That's important to remember. In the shopping cart there is also Narco and Trump Master Blaster or whatever, Blaster Jacks. All right, so listen, all is good in Mets land right now. So, we got the double digits. If we can get this to 10 games somehow, if we sweep right now. Who are we playing right now?
We got the Rays, the Braves, and the Marlins.
Right. So the Braves I've got circled. Like, let's fuck around and see what happens with some NL East battle. We went up against the Phillies, but like I want to see Mets Braves when we have like shaken off the cobwebs and got rolling, and then I think that'll be a good, whatever cliche you want to use, measuring stick game or series or whatever, where we'll see where we really stand. I know the Braves have been not good, but right, they're still struggling.
They're up and down. They're kind of the same as us.
Their pitching stinks, right? That's kind of the thing that's killing them. I know Acuna was out for a little bit. He's back, so we have to face.
Yeah, but I want to see. Let's see how we handle a Met killer. I want to see what goes on with Freddie Freeman. We got past Paul DeJong. Let me see what happens with Freddie Freeman and the Braves. Is it home or at Atlanta?
It's on the. This is a road trip now. We got a big road trip. I think it's 3 series. It's Rays, Braves, Marlins, and then we come back home.
I know it's not, Turner Field exactly. That's gone, but we're still in Atlanta, which has always been a bugaboo. And, we'll see some Met killers, but in a big NL East rivalry, when we are finally, cooking, that's going to tell us a lot. So God willing, we perform well that series. And let's end on this. Are you ready, willing, able, prepared? Are you going to allow the tank to just now be all right? I believe
this is a tough one
because here's the thing. On the one hand, I've been yelling at him for being too pessimistic, and now if he's going to be optimistic, that's what else can you ask for? On the other hand, I say you made your bed. You at least gotta wear this one for a little while. You can't just jump right on and have fun and enjoy it. And especially because I have, being a negative fan myself, the fact that I mustered up the fucking courage and fortitude to stay positive when I could have been negative makes me feel like even more like I'm going to be a little gatekeeper here. So I go back and forth on yes, no, but I ultimately land on this, Clem. You got to believe.
Frank's allowed in. Frank's allowed in. But if he's out for good. Because again, there's scars, deep scars in this fan base from the Wilpons. I'll let him in. But if he comes out again and I see the fucking 35 tweet storm when the Mets are winning 3-1, he's out for good. And he's out. It's the fucking umpire. Boom, gone. And I'm done with him. Hashtag done with him.
It's like, your partner cheated on you and you're like, all right, I'll forgive you. I'll let you back in. But if I catch you dogging somebody else again, like I'll give you this one chance and one chance only. So Frank, you have to decide, Frank. You can continue to be. You have one chance to jump back in, or I don't know. Let me ask you this then: if it's like
he never jumped out though, that's the thing. So I'll allow him in his first time. He can actually become a Mets fan.
Okay.
He's a Mets fan.
Also, the flip side of that though: how long into a season, if he stays negative, can he now then not jump in? Like if he's negative all the way through August, and then he wants to just jump in September for a playoff run, no way. What about like All-Star break? Can he be negative through the All-Star break? Can he be negative through June, July? Where's the cutoff where it's like you cannot just say, oh, okay, I believe.
I mean, we're right on that point right now. We're 7-game winning streak, the third best record in the National League. Like at some point, you're just being a dickhead. So At this point, Frank can come in. He's welcome in. The door is open. The door will be shut in like a week if we're still good. Because if we start sucking, I can't be like, oh, you can't be negative if we start just kicking the ball everywhere. But Frank, right now,
we'll do like the ring, like 7 days. You have 7 days, Frank. Make your choice, and then you've made your bed. I'm just proud from my own personal point of view and from a podcast point of view. We lived up to the title. I lived up to I became the fan I always wanted to be with this team. I knew they were good. I knew they had the talent on paper. I refused to jump ship and just be it's so easy to just say fuck the Mets. And I didn't do that, and I'm happy I didn't do that. And so I'm a little bit protective of the people, of the team and the fandom right now, fan base. But 7 days, Frank, make your bed. And if you're in, you're in. And if you go out again, you're fucking out. But
gotta believe.